I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. What is the best FPV goggle around $300? That's a tough question to answer because there are some really good goggles right around that price range, like the Eachine EV200D, like the Skyzone Sky02X, like the Fatshark Attitude V5, and Aomway Commander V1S. It's actually even cheaper. It's like $240, way cheaper than $300. Which of these is the one that you should buy? Today is the day that I remember who I work for. I work for you, and my job is not to make videos that get clicks. My job is to make your life easier. I was going to make a review video for each of these goggles separately, and then I realized I think I've got the information that you need to figure out in one video which one is the right one for you to buy. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Let me just start this video by heading off one question that I know you guys are going to ask, and that is, why is the Fatshark Dominator V3 not in this roundup? Isn't it a good goggle? Yes, it's a very good goggle. Doesn't it cost around $300? Yes, it did cost around $300. It's not for sale anymore. They've discontinued it. So perhaps out there somewhere there's someone who could find one of these for $300, and maybe we would want to see how it stacks up. But since it's discontinued, we're not going to take time out of this roundup to sort of compare it. So then here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through each of these goggles, and we're going to focus on the things that makes this goggle stand out, the things that would make you go, that's the one for me. And we're going to start with the Skyzone Sky02X. The first thing you got to notice about the Skyzones is this beautiful water transfer design they've done on the case. And you can get the Sky02X and the Sky02C with a whole bunch of different designs. This is something that you might pay 40 or 50 bucks or maybe even more to have done aftermarket, and you'd have to disassemble the goggles. It'd be a huge pain in the butt. If you care at all about aesthetics, then this is a big plus for these goggles. The thing about the Skyzones that has always stood out to me is how well integrated a package they are. The entire thing, the DVR, everything just feels like it is completely integrated. The operating system of the goggles has been just designed from the beginning to work. And so it never feels like anything is tacked on. Everything is consistent user experience throughout. Another thing that makes the Sky02X stand out is that it's the only goggle in this roundup to have a front-facing camera. This is a 640 by 480 VGA camera that you can activate while you've got the goggles down and see what's in front of you without actually having to lift the goggles up. This is especially nice if, like me, you wear corrective lenses, and lifting the goggles up, then you're like you can't see anything and you got to put your glasses on. You could just leave the goggles down, switch to the front-facing camera real quick, go pick your quadcopter up, land your quadcopter line of sight, any of that kind of stuff. Historically, the build quality of Skyzones has been quite good. That being said, if you do need service for Skyzones, getting spare parts can be a little more difficult than some of the other vendors. I've personally had people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm trying to get a new DVR board from Skyzone, and they weren't getting any satisfaction from Skyzone's support or the web page. They ended up just messaging the Skyzone Facebook page, and then they mailed them what they were asking for. So getting aftermarket support is possible, but maybe a little more difficult than some of the other goggles in the roundup. Here's the Eocene EV200D, and there are two things that really make this goggle stand out. One of them is that it comes with quadversity. All of the other goggles in this roundup have diversity, 2 receivers and 2 antennas, and it switches between them based on which is strongest. The Eachine EV200D has quadversity, 4 antennas on 2 separate receiver modules. And this is nice because let's guess that the receiver modules on the EV200D are not like the best in the whole world in terms of their RF sensitivity. The ability to have like 4 patch antennas if you want and point them in all different directions could go a long way toward making up any deficiency in the performance of the modules themselves. The other thing that makes the EV200D stand out is its screens. It's a 1280 by 720 LCOS display. So it's got the highest resolution of any goggle in this roundup. In addition, it's got the largest field of view of any goggle in this roundup at 42 degrees. So it's going to have a much bigger image. And don't underestimate, the difference between a 30 degree and a 42 degree field of view is pretty massive. Another place the EV200D stand out is in the quality of their DVR. This is the only goggle in this roundup to use an H.264 encoding with 720p resolution. That's going to give much better quality DVR results Frankly, the DVR results from all the others are really poor. Yeah, usable to find where you crashed your quad if you lost it, but not really anything you would want to sort of show off. So the DVR on the EV200s really stands out. Where the EV200s fall short, in my opinion, the screen, although it's large and high resolution, doesn't look great. It just seems a little kind of washed out. And the colors are sort of a little uneven side to side. It's not bad, but I think the Skyzone actually has a better looking image, even though it's lower resolution and smaller. The other thing about the EV200s is that the build quality on them has been really spotty. It's always very hard to judge how much, like when I sort of hear complaints from people about stuff, how much of that is representative and how much is just bad luck. But I've heard more complaints about people getting damaged or DOA goggles from these than like Fatsharks or Skyzones. So I would hesitate a little bit on these based on the build quality. The Aomway Commander V1S stands out as the least expensive goggle in this roundup. All the other goggles come in around $300. The Commander comes in around $240. Joshua from the future here. That $240 price, I think that's actually a sale price. Like when I was checking, I always do my checks before I release the video, and I was like, oh, they've dropped the price. These used to be about $300, but no, I'm pretty sure it's a sale price. So if you're watching this video at some point in the future and you check the price of these, they may be back up closer to $300. And then again, maybe they're not selling and they've just gone, all right, fine, we're knocking it down to $240. Continue. If you were to look at just the specs, it would surely seem like you were getting almost the same goggle as the Skyzone for a significantly cheaper price. But what the numbers don't really tell you is that the build quality on the Aomway is significantly worse than the build quality on the Skyzones. The Skyzones are tight and well constructed. The Aomways, like I've always noticed on the IPD adjustment, they just feel a little bit flimsier, a little bit lighter. That shouldn't necessarily stop you from getting them, but it definitely, you're not getting something for nothing in the lower price of the Aomways. Another place where the Aomways really struggle is that the optics have a lot of distortion. Like, it's very, very hard for me to get the screen centered with the whole thing fully visible, and there's always some like little, curving, the screens aren't completely square. So the optical quality here is significantly worse than like on the Skyzones or even I think the EV200Ds. Finally, we come to the Fatshark Attitude V5, and whether you love or hate this goggle is going to depend a lot on your priorities, because for $300 you get an OLED screen, which I think has the best looking image of all of them. An OLED screen has more saturated colors, better contrast. I do think it looks better. I have to tell you though, a lot of people disagree and feel that the screen on the Skyzone Sky02 is better. That's going to be very subjective. I'm going to show you in goggle views so you could try to decide for yourself, but really there's no substitute for putting your face in the goggles and seeing for yourself. So the Attitude V5 has an OLED screen, but it's a 640 by 400 resolution, which is the lowest resolution of any goggle in this roundup, and it's not 4:3, nor is it 16:9. It's 16:10 resolution. I can only guess that Fatshark was able to source some 16:10 panels at a good price and thought, well, let's just build a goggle. That's what Fatshark seems to do. They source a panel, then they build a goggle around the panel, and that's where we've ended up in this weird middle ground. And unfortunately, the Fatshark does not have the ability to do any kind of 4:3 letterboxing of the image either. So you're going to be stuck with a slightly stretched or squished image, regardless of whether you use a 4:3 or a 16:9 camera. Another place where the Fatsharks really shine is in second to none build quality, quality control, and aftermarket support. Fatshark has service centers in America, Europe, and Asia, and I think Australia too. So service centers on 4 continents, and that means that when you need to send your goggles off for service, you don't have to mail them to another continent necessarily. There will be somewhere out there with spare parts that you can send them off to get them installed, or they'll even send you a spare part and let you install it yourself if you feel up to it. Fatshark still provides support for goggles like the Dominator V2, which are 5 or 7 years old. If you have those goggles, you can still get them worked on, or that's just not something you get with really anybody else. Whether you value that, that's your call. So then, let's sum up. Who is each of these goggles right for? Before we do that, I do want to let you know the spreadsheet I made, which compares the specs of all these goggles, is down in the video description if you want to go dig into it yourself and see any details you might have missed. The other thing I have to acknowledge is that we haven't done any range testing on any of these. That is something I'm going to put in a separate video. So is one of these goggles much, much better than the other at a range test? Maybe. We'd have to see. But that is not going to be something in this video. And maybe that's not even the most important thing for you, because, like, if goggle has a little bit worse reception but really good image quality, maybe that's more important to you. I don't know. So range testing is going to be in another video coming out probably next week. If you hate box goggles, you want to get this style of goggle on your face for the least amount of money possible, then I think the Aomway Commander V1S is the one for you. Yes, there are cheaper goggles out there, like the Top Sky Prime 1, whatever, Prime 2. Nothing that is less expensive than this, in my opinion, is worth looking at. They give up way too much in terms of image quality and just quality overall. They're just crappy goggles. Don't even consider them. At a price of $239, this guy is okay. The image quality is not the best. The optics are a little weird, but many people have bought this goggle, been happy with it, and flown with it for a long time and felt they got a good deal. This is the one for the person on the tightest budget. The Eocene EV200D is for the person who cares the most about a big image. It's got a 42-degree field of view. That's the biggest in this roundup. It's got a 1280 by 720 screen. That's the highest resolution in the roundup. Then that brings us to these two guys, and this is really tough because both of these, in my opinion, are very good goggles, but they're very polarizing. When I released a video, and I know UAV Futures had the same experience, when I released a video saying that this was a good goggle, a lot of people felt that this is clearly the better goggle, and that goes both ways. So what makes the Attitude V5 stand out is, number one, I think Fatshark's just legendary after-sales support. This is a goggle you will be able to keep using for years and years and years. No matter what happens to it, you can get it back into service for a reasonable price. Spare parts will be available. Warranty is legit. They will back up the warranty. You're not going to have any trouble getting. So that matters a lot. It's also got an OLED screen, which, although it is lower resolution, it does have, I think, the best image quality. That being said, there is no doubt that for a price of $300, you get a lot less in a lot of ways with the Attitude than you do with the Skyzone. Better resolution, way better just integrated feature set, heck, water transfer. And so I think that the Skyzone is probably going to be the one that a lot of people are going to think is the best value for money. A lot of people are going to go, so the OLED screen looks a little better. This screen looks pretty freaking good, and the overall package is very compelling. Okay, there you go. Now you know what you need to know to decide which pair of $300-ish FPV goggles is right for you. What do you think? How'd I do? Well, anyway, I've done my best. I hope it helps you. Thank you guys. Oh, hey, no, don't go. I got to do the plug. See, I did the right thing for you by making one video that dials it all in. Now, do me a favor. If you go and buy one of these goggles, go down to the video description and hit the affiliate. There's affiliate links down there. You hit that link, then when you buy the goggle, when you hit that affiliate link, you make any purchase at the affiliated vendor. You don't have to buy these goggles. I get a small commission, and it does help. That's one of the ways I support myself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy flying.